Don't ignore this psalm, not because it's dramatic, not because it promises instant relief, but because it understands something most people never say out loud. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, a kind of exhaustion that coffee can't touch, a weariness that lives deeper than the body. It's the tiredness of always being strong. Strong for your family, strong at work, strong in front of people who depend on you, strong when no one asks how you are, because everyone assumes you're fine. And slowly, quietly, that strength begins to hurt. You wake up already tired. You smile out of habit. You pray, but the words feel heavy in your mouth. Faith is still there, but it feels far away, like a light behind fog. If that sounds familiar, you are not weak. You are human. And this is exactly where Psalm 34 speaks. Not to the loud, not to the triumphant, not to the ones who feel spiritually victorious, but to the broken, to the exhausted, to those who are tired of being strong. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm, because Psalm 34 was not written from a place of comfort. It was born in fear, in uncertainty, in a moment where survival mattered more than appearances. David didn't write these words from a throne. He wrote them while running, hiding, pretending, holding himself together one breath at a time. And that's why this psalm doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It doesn't pretend pain isn't real. It sits with you. Before we read a single verse, pause for a moment, not to relax, but to arrive. Take a slow breath in and let it out gently. You don't need to perform here. You don't need to sound faithful. You don't need to explain anything to God. He already knows how tired you are. There is something deeply comforting about a psalm that doesn't demand strength from you. A psalm that doesn't say, be brave, or try harder, or have more faith. Instead, Psalm 34 begins by reminding us of something easily forgotten when life is heavy. God is not far from the brokenhearted. Not after they heal, not once they get it together, not when they finally stop struggling, but right now, when your strength is gone, when your voice feels weak, when all you have left is silence. This psalm doesn't rush you toward hope. It walks with you through honesty first. And honesty is often the first step toward rest, because pretending to be strong is exhausting. Holding everything inside is exhausting. Carrying everyone else while ignoring your own pain is exhausting. God never asked you to be unbreakable. He asked you to come to him as you are. That's why this psalm matters so much when you're tired of being strong. It reminds you that being broken does not disqualify you from God's presence. It draws you closer to it. As we move slowly into Psalm 34, let these words meet you where you are, not where you think you should be. You don't need to rush. You don't need to understand everything at once. Just stay. Stay with the words. Stay with the silence between them. Stay with the God who draws near to the weary. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm and let it speak to the part of you that hasn't. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm slowly, not as a task, not as something to finish, but as something to sit with. Psalm 34 begins in a way that can feel surprising when your heart is exhausted. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. At first, these words might feel distant, even unrealistic, because when you're tired, praise doesn't come easily. When you're overwhelmed, Gratitude can feel forced. When life has taken more than is given, worship can feel heavy. But notice what David does not say. He doesn't say, "I feel like blessing the Lord." He doesn't say, "Everything is going well." He doesn't say, "My situation has improved." He chooses praise while still inside the struggle, not as denial, but as survival. This kind of praise is not loud. It's not joyful shouting. It's quiet defiance against despair. It says, "My circumstances are unstable, but God is not." When you're tired of being strong, this kind of praise is not about energy. It's about direction. David continues, "My soul makes its boast in the Lord. Let the humble hear and be glad." The word humble here matters deeply. Humble doesn't mean weak. It means aware of your limits. It means knowing you cannot carry everything alone anymore. And that awareness is not failure. It's truth. If you're listening to this while feeling drained, if your strength feels thin, if your faith feels quieter than it used to be, you are exactly who the psalm is speaking to. David invites the weary into something gentle. "Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let's exalt his name together." Notice the word together. This is not a solitary command. It's not pressure placed on one tired soul. It's an invitation. An invitation to stop carrying everything alone. An invitation to remember that faith was never meant to be performed in isolation. Even in Scripture, strength is shared. David then reveals something deeply personal. "I sought the Lord, and he answered me, and delivered me from all my fears." Not from all his problems, not from all danger, but from fear. This matters when you're tired of being strong, because fear is exhausting. Fear drains the body. Fear tightens the chest. Fear keeps the mind awake at night. And sometimes, fear is heavier than the problem itself. Psalm 34 acknowledges this truth without shame. David doesn't say he never felt afraid. He admits it openly. Faith does not mean the absence of fear. It means knowing where to bring it. And when you're exhausted, bringing your fear to God is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. They looked to him and were radiant, and their faces were not ashamed. Shame often comes quietly. It whispers, "You should be handling this better. You shouldn't still be tired. You should be stronger by now." But this psalm gently removes that lie. God does not shame the weary. He restores them. David continues, "This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles." The phrase, "this poor man," is powerful. David could have said, "this king," "this warrior," "this leader," but he chose honesty instead. He calls himself poor, not financially, but inwardly, poor in strength, poor in certainty, poor in answers. And God heard him anyway. When you're tired of being strong, remember this. God does not respond to titles. He responds to cries. You don't need perfect words. You don't need impressive prayers. A cry is enough. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. This is not an image of distance. It is closeness. God does not watch from far away. He surrounds. He stays. He remains, especially when your strength is gone. As we continue reading Psalm 34, let this truth settle slowly. You are not failing because you are tired. You are not weak because you need rest. You are not distant from God because you feel exhausted. You may actually be closer than you think. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm. Not to push yourself forward, but to let God meet you where you are. When you're tired of being strong, one of the hardest things to admit is this. You are tired of being alert, always watching, always anticipating, always preparing for what might go wrong next. Your body stays tense even when nothing is happening. Your mind never fully rests. Silence doesn't calm you, it makes you think more. Psalm 34 speaks directly to this kind of exhaustion. Listen carefully. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Refuge is not a reward. It's a shelter. You don't earn refuge by being faithful enough. You don't qualify for it by holding everything together. You run to refuge because you can't carry it anymore. When you're tired of being strong, God does not ask you to stand taller. He invites you to come closer. Fear the Lord, you saints, for those who fear him lack nothing. This fear is not terror. It is trust. It is choosing to believe that God sees what you see, and also what you don't. Anxiety often comes from feeling like everything depends on you, that if you don't stay alert, something will fall apart. Psalm 34 quietly challenges that lie. It reminds you that provision does not come from vigilance alone. It comes from God's care. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Even the strongest grow tired. Even the powerful experience lack. Strength does not protect you from exhaustion. Only refuge does. And refuge begins when you stop pretending you're fine. David then shifts the psalm in a way that feels deeply practical. Come, children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. This is not a lecture. It's a slowing down, almost as if David is saying, sit, breathe, let me show you something. And what he teaches next is not mystical. It's grounded. Whoever desires life and loves many days, that he may see good, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Sometimes exhaustion is not only physical, it comes from inner conflict, from words you hold back, from feelings you swallow, from pretending you're okay when you're not. Truth has weight, but silence can weigh more. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Peace is not passive. You don't stumble into peace accidentally. You pursue it intentionally. And sometimes, pursuing peace means stepping away from what keeps you in constant survival mode. The psalm continues, "The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and his ears toward their cry." Notice what God listens for. Not perfect prayers, not polished faith. Cries, exhausted prayers count. Silent prayers count. Tears count. God does not miss a single one. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil, to cut off the memory of them from the earth. This verse often feels uncomfortable, but to the weary it carries comfort. It says that injustice does not last forever. That cruelty is seen. That harm does not go unnoticed. You are not crazy for feeling worn down by a harsh world. God sees it too. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. Deliverance here is not always immediate escape. Sometimes it is strength for the next step. Sometimes it is peace in the middle of uncertainty. And sometimes it is simply being held. When you're tired of being strong, this matters deeply. You don't need to stay on guard forever. You don't need to carry every outcome. You don't need to live as if everything depends on you. Psalm 34 gently teaches this truth. God is not asking you to be vigilant. He is asking you to trust. As we move forward, the psalm reaches its most intimate promise, a verse written especially for the broken, the exhausted, the emotionally worn down. Stay with it. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm slowly, because the next words were written for hearts that feel like they're about to give up. There's a moment in Psalm 34 where everything slows down. The words become quieter. The meaning becomes heavier. And suddenly, the psalm stops speaking about God and starts revealing his posture toward you. Listen carefully. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Near, not watching from a distance, not waiting for improvement, not standing back until you recover. Near. This verse is not poetic exaggeration. It is a declaration of where God chooses to stand, not beside the strong, not beside the composed, not beside those who have it all together, but beside the brokenhearted. Brokenhearted does not mean dramatic sorrow. It means a heart that has been carrying too much for too long, a heart that kept going when it should have rested, a heart that stayed quiet when it needed to speak, a heart that learned how to survive but forgot how to breathe. Crushed in spirit does not mean defeated. It means pressed, pressed by responsibility, pressed by expectation, pressed by fear of disappointing others, pressed by the feeling that you can't stop even when you're exhausted. If that describes you, this verse is not a coincidence. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm, because it does not ask you to rise up. It tells you that God has already come down. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. This is not a promise of an easy life. It is a promise of presence. Many afflictions, not few, not rare. Faith does not protect you from difficulty. It anchors you through it. Deliverance does not always mean removal. Sometimes it means endurance. Sometimes it means healing that happens quietly, slowly, without announcement. And sometimes deliverance is simply knowing you're not alone anymore. He keeps all his bones. Not one of them is broken. This line feels symbolic, a reminder that while life can wound deeply, it does not have the final word over you. You may feel fractured inside, but you are still being held together. There is a protection you cannot see, a care you may not feel yet, a closeness you may not recognize in the moment, but it is there. Psalm 34 does not deny pain. It places God inside it, and that changes everything. Because exhaustion often comes from believing you must endure alone, from thinking strength means silence, from assuming God expects more from you than you can give. This psalm gently dismantles that belief. It shows a God who moves toward weakness, not away from it, a God who does not ask you to explain your tiredness, a God who does not shame your limits, a God who stays. As the psalm moves towards closing, it leaves us with one last truth, a quiet assurance meant for those who feel worn thin by life. Stay with me a little longer. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm to the end, because the final words are not heavy. They are safe. As Psalm 34 comes to its final words, the tone shifts, not into excitement, not into triumph, but into something much rarer, safety. Evil will slay the wicked, and those who hate the righteous will be condemned. This is not about revenge. It is about release. It means that you are not responsible for correcting everything that is wrong. You are not assigned to fix the world. You are not required to carry justice on your shoulders. God sees what you see. and he carries what you cannot. The Lord redeems the life of his servants. None of those who take refuge in him will be condemned. Redeems. To redeem is not to erase the past. It is to restore meaning to what was painful. Nothing you've endured has been wasted. None of your tears were unnoticed. None of your quiet battles were invisible. When you're tired of being strong, this truth matters deeply. God does not measure you by endurance. He measures you by belonging. You belong to him, even when you're exhausted, especially when you're exhausted. Psalm 34 ends without noise, without applause, without instruction to do more. It ends with refuge, and that is intentional, because rest is not the reward for strength. Rest is a replacement for it. You were never meant to live in survival mode forever. You were never asked to carry everything alone. You were never expected to be unbreakable. This psalm gently returns you to where you began, not with answers, but with presence. So, if you're listening to this late at night, if your body feels heavy, if your mind keeps replaying worries you can't solve, let this be enough for now. You don't need to decide anything tonight. You don't need to fix tomorrow. You don't need to be strong for a few more hours. You can rest, because the Lord is near to the brokenhearted, because he saves the crushed in spirit, because refuge is open even for the tired. When you're tired of being strong, read this psalm again. Read it slowly. Read it gently. Read it when the weight returns. And if this psalm met you where you are today, leave a comment, not with explanations, not with perfect words, just something simple. I'm tired. I needed this. Psalm 34 found me. Your words may help someone else feel less alone. And if you'd like to stay in this quiet space, this place of rest, honesty, and scripture, you're welcome to stay. When you're tired of being strong, you don't need to leave yet.